Hello everyone, my name is Franco. Today I'm going to show you how to make this simple, beautiful and interesting design. So I encourage you to stick around because you're going to have other secondary information like how to mask and a lot of other things. So let's dive in and get started. I'm going to press Ctrl N. So I'm going to click on print folder and click on A4 preset here. Alright, I'm going to name magazine cover. Then I will change the unit of measurements to inches. The orientation should be portrait and then the resolution should be 300 since we are assuming it's going to be printed. Then since you screen, the color mode should be left on RGB. You basically have to click OK. Next thing you are going to do now is to create a guide. Guide is very important. Okay, for us not to print things in a place where it might be cut out during the printing or maybe while being displayed in different screen resolutions, so we'll not risk our main information of being cut out. So the way to create the guide is go to view and go to guide and go to new guide layout. Okay, depending on the version of Photoshop you are using, like that of 2020, once you click on V, you see new guide layout already, so without having to go into what you basically need to do here is that we don't need columns, so you are going to uncheck columns, check margins, and you can see that we'll begin to see some margins down there. Okay, we are going to increase the margins now to something like 100. All right, so once you are done writing, making sure that the top, left, bottom and right side are all 100, so they are basically going to apply, use the same measurements that everywhere will be equal. So you click on OK. The next thing you are going to do now is to begin to manipulate our design to the one you saw over before the video started. Okay, so I'm going to go to my shape tool here. Okay, you can press U on the keyboard to go to, as the shortcut to go to your shape tool. So I need to bring up my ellipse tool. On the ellipse tool, I will click and drag. Of course, I want a perfect circle, so I'm going to hold shift and drag a perfect circle. Please, there's something that you need to note here. It is very important that I just press on Ctrl Z to undo. Okay, whenever you want to have a perfect circle while drawing a shape in Photoshop, it is important to know that you have to begin to draw your shape before you click on shift, so that it will make it a perfect circle. It is not ideal for you to hold shift before dragging. Okay, similar action but different purposes, because it will frustrate you in a time to come if you are not able to get it now, because once you click on plus before dragging, you are more like creating shapes inside shape. Maybe I'm going to make a dedicated tutorial on this so you understand it better. For the meantime, just have it in mind that you have to start dragging your shape before holding shift to make it a perfect circle or a perfect square. Now I've drawn the shape, the size doesn't matter for now. We need to check the stroke, the outline. Okay, we don't need the fill. We go to my fill option here. Okay, you can see it here, or you can also see it in the property. Either ways, I think I'm going to use the property now. Click on the fill and check no color. Click on the stroke. You can see it's already a black color. I need it to be something very maybe let me not determine the color for now, but let me just check a different color, something very vivid that I can, that should be obvious for you guys to see. Now once you've chosen the color that you want to give it now, okay, any color is still possible for now, though we are still going to make it the color you see in the design. So now we need to increase the strokes width actually, because it's very tiny here. And if you look into this place, you can see by default it is on 1 pixel, which is very tiny. So we need to increase it. You click on the drop down there and begin to increase it like this. But we are having some issue here. This is Photoshop 2023. Your own might be 2020 or below. The way it treats the outline is actually different from the way other previous version is treating the outline, like that of 2020 and below. If you're increasing the width of a stroke, it normally compress it to the boundary of that circle, so it doesn't go outside or maybe go middle, so it automatically converts. So the more you keep on increasing the stroke, the more tiny the hole on the stroke. But this is a little bit different, though the same method we are going to apply now, because what we want here now is that the stroke should spread outside, not inside or from the center. Okay, basically, so what you're going to do now is to click on this icon here. I want everybody to follow along here, so I just want to use different alternatives. It will be easier for us. So I'm going to use the option bar here. to do this because it looks familiar to other versions. So if I click on this option bar here, now after the stroke size, I can go to the stroke display, which is the little line there, the little line that you're seeing there. So if you click on the drop down, you're going to see this align, caps, and the corners. This one functions like Illustrator if you are Illustrator user. Okay, I think you understand this one better. Now, if I click on align, then I can basically see inside. Okay, did you see what I was telling you? This is the default of other versions of Photoshop in terms of the way they treat stroke. But the one we want it to be is outside. Wow. So you can see we've changed it from wherever it was to the more we increase our stroke width, the more bigger it becomes. I'm going to increase the width of the stroke to 1200. Press enter. Once you've been able to change the alignment there, so what you're going to do is basically to scale up the image to position it exactly the way we have it mind according to our design concepts. I can go back to the shape tool and go back to the size of the stroke. I will increase it to 1200. That is 1200 there. There I'll press enter. I think something like this seems so nice to me. Alright. The next thing that we can do now is to duplicate this shape. One way is by pressing Ctrl J. I'm going to undo. You can see I've duplicated already. So if I take my move tool, I can move the second one around. Another way is to drag the particular layer to this plus icon here. I'll duplicate it again. Another way, in case if you need, is actually to right click, look for duplicate layer. This one is going to ask you to put a name here. I'm not showing you all the ways of duplicating just for fun or maybe for you to master them all. I'm just showing you so you can just stick to one and start using that particular one for the meantime till you get your head around Photoshop very well. I'm going to hold Alt key and drag my layer there to the bottom there and we'll get it duplicated as well. So the next thing I'll need to do is to change these colors. If I select the particular layer here, go to the shape to click on option panel and click on my layer. Then I'm going to click on this icon to bring up my color picker. Click on that color that I have chosen. Remember, I have a duplicate down there. I'm going to move it out like this. I'll also do the same thing, select my shape tool and go to my stroke color and bring up the color picker and choose this color. Now I need to place my icon in the strategic position. It's more like experiments though. I might start experimenting. Maybe another idea that will be better than the one you saw. So for now, I think I'll be going with this one here, trying to make sure I'm getting it right. The next thing that I'm going to do now is to create the image, the image holder that you saw at the middle here. The image holder, I think, is actually fun part. Some side that will be that will look a little bit tricky to get through. I'm going to duplicate one of the element there. So press Ctrl J to duplicate. So I have it here. Let me rename it image holder. Look identical now. We need to rasterize this layer. Let me show you why. If I drag this particular layer now to another document like this, if you want to select this area now, like if I want to select this line, this now, like the pixel I mean to say, okay, I'm going to hold Control key to select like this to click on the thumbnail there. Once I hold Control key to click on the thumbnail, you see the selection. It's not that obvious, but we just have one selection down there. But what I need is actually a selection that will go through every other side, and that is where we have to rasterize the layer. I'm going to deselect, Ctrl G to deselect. I will right click on this particular layer and look for rasterize layer. I'm going to right click on this thumbnail and make it bigger, so you can actually right click on the thumbnail to make it small or bigger. I'll make it like this extra large. I'll drag this one here. Now if I hold Ctrl key and click on the thumbnail, look at the kind of selection I'm now getting now, and this is the kind of selection I'm looking for, and that is why I rasterize the layer. So let's go back to our design there. I'm going to select the image folder, rasterize it basically. Make sure know where you are right clicking. If you right click on the thumbnail, it's going to give you different options than right clicking on the layer itself. I'm going to duplicate that of gray color there, Ctrl J. What we need is the image folder. But if you observe very well on the design, you can see the image holder automatically takes the shape of the intersection here. For you to understand what I mean, I'm going to delete all the duplicate again, deleted. I'm going to select one among the placement here, the item there, and reduce the opacity like this. You see the shape that it has formed due to the intersection where they are meeting. They now form this shape, and that is the shape I want to extrude out. If there's a way I can be able to extrude that shape out without having to use my pen tool. In short, using the pen tool, you can actually get it where, but I have another proposal for you. What I would do is to duplicate one among the stroke that we added previously, Control J to duplicate. Then I'm going to rasterize. I can now hold Control key and click on this thumbnail like this. I just increase the opacity back. Once I click on the thumbnail and it gets the outline selected, I will now select another one among the stroke that we added and added a layer mask. Let me show you what we have done now. If I should turn off all of these ones like this, we still retain that particular shape. I added a mask, but we still retain that particular shape. That is exactly what I need now. Let me undo that. Since this one is going this direction, like this, something like this. This is actually basically the shape that I want here. Since it's going up to this direction, if there's a new way, I can be able to cut it through like this, then I'll get this shape. Let me go to another document so you understand what I mean. I want to cut it through. If I should select this man here, I'm looking for a way to hide the inside here. If I should hold my control key and click on this rectangle to get it selected, I get that particular portion selected. I don't mind turning off the particular shape that I used to get it selected. Now, if I should select the next layer and add it a mask while I'm still having that selection there, watch what happens now. You can see every other thing gets hidden. I'm going to select the mask and press Ctrl I and invert. Now, did you see what we just created now? Let me use more examples so we are going to do, because masking in Photoshop is one of the things that give beginner a lot of headache. I want to use a simple shape now, like something like this. I want to hide some portion here, or maybe I want to create an arc here, inverted arc here. What I can do is to bring my ellipse tool. So I'm going to hold shift while I'm dragging to make it a purpose. I want to use the shape of this ellipse tool and cut that area that is intersecting with my other shape, with my rectangle. I don't know if that is rectangle or a square. It's not a perfect square. What I can do now is to hold Control key and click on the thumbnail of the ellipse. Then let's turn it off. So did you see where we are about to cut out now? So for us to cut it out, we select the shape we want to cut out and add it in mask. And once you do this, the opposite of what you want will just happen. Maybe if this is what you want, fine. If it is not, you can click on the mask, click on Ctrl I to invert like this. If you are not a shortcut type, you can select the mask, click on the property of the mask. Okay, and short, everything in Photoshop has a property. So once you select the mask thumbnail, not the shape thumbnail, because watch now, as I'm selecting different thing, the property gets to change. Once I click on the mask thumbnail here, I can have this option that saying invert. Basically, it does the same thing like Control I. I don't know if you're able to get it now. I'm going to do the last one, so you have. I just want you to understand everything that is going on. Just a little tricky, you get something like in Photoshop. Now I have something like this here. Then I have something like this. I'm going to duplicate this shape. Okay. Now, did you see where these guys are intersecting with each other? I just select them and reduce the opacity just to get the intersection. Now, I want to get this shape. Okay, so don't worry about my drawing. I'm not, you can see it's obvious now, I'm not good in drawing. Or maybe I'm not good using this particular mouse to draw. So that is the shape I want to get. How do I get that particular shape? Because the only way you can get something fine and curved like this is to use pen tool. Is actually a topic of it one, so I'm not going to use the pen tool on this. What I need to do is that if I want to, I have to determine which of the layer do I want to use to cut each other. Now, what I need to do, since I want the cutout now to be on a separate layer, then I'm going to duplicate one of the layers there. Ctrl J to duplicate. The one I duplicated is actually the one going this way. For me to get the shape I want, I need to select the one going the opposite direction like this. The one I duplicated is going like this. So if I can get the one this, I will use the selection on this one and go to this direction in order for me to extrude that particular part. What I will do now is to hold my Control key and click on the thumbnail, basically something like this. Remember my duplicate, which is this one here. I want to cut it out. I'll now hold that particular one that I duplicated. It's the one I'm going to select, and while my selection is still on there, I'm going to add it in mask. Let's see what we've done here. This is it. Okay, don't mind the second one here because it's actually outside that. Maybe I don't basically need it since I'm working on it here. Now look at that shape that I want to take out. So let's go back to our design now. I'm going to delete the mask we added before because we added it in the wrong direction. You right click on the mask and you see an option that says delete mask. If you want to get this done now, remember we duplicated 3 times. So we have the ellipse here and we have other ones around there. The one we want to use, since the one we duplicated is going this direction, we will use the other one. That is, since we duplicated the purple, we are going to use the gray color to cut it out so that we basically have one we need. What I'm going to do now is to rasterize, because now if you click on this one, it gets 1 point. If you hold control and click on the thumbnail, it only selects the points there. So you remember what I said before, that if we want to make sure that our selection goes around the shape, that means we need to rasterize that particular shape. Alright, so I'm going to deselect by pressing Ctrl D and right click again and rasterize layer. So once I get the layer rasterized, I can now hold Ctrl key and click on the thumbnail like this, and that shape selected. Then I'm going to select the one I duplicated before, which is going the opposite direction, add a mask like this. You can say that we've done it here. Press Ctrl Z to undo my movement there. I'm going to increase the opacity of all other shapes. So basically now, I now have 3 different stroke here. So 3 different layers basically. Number 1 is the image folder, number 2 is the gray color stroke, and the other one is the purple color stroke. Alright, the next thing that we are going to do now is to add our images, the images you saw on the image folder. Alright, I'm going to teach you a technique. Let me go to another document. I want to place images here. What I'm going to do now is to bring up my image. I'll go to File Explorer and basically click and drag like this. I have my image there. I want to make it to enter inside here. So what I'll do, make sure the image is directly on top of the shape you want it to enter. You right click on it and say create a clipping mask. I'm going to undo that now. Let me delete all this layer that you are seeing here, all this distracting layer. Since my image is already on top of the shape I want it to enter, I'll right click and say create a clipping mask. And here we go, we have the mask. If you want to remove it, you right click again and say release clipping mask. Yeah, and we have our image. But the difference of what we want to do now is that we want to apply different images inside this particular shape. After clipping on this one, we need another one to be clipped, and we need another one. And not just being clipped, we need them to be in a stylized position. So what we need to do now is to bring other shapes as well. For instance, if I have this, yeah, let me use this shape now. If I have this one here, let me change the color. I'll basically double click on this little icon here and change the color like this. Maybe this is what I want. If I duplicate this shape now, Ctrl J. If you want to duplicate like the way I did, hold Alt key, click and drag like this, okay, for it to duplicate. Watch how many shapes I've duplicated. Yeah, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shapes. Now I want this image to enter into these shapes, this individual shape, no longer the main shape that I had before. So I will take this image and drag it on top of one of the shape here and clip it inside. I'll right click like this and say create a clipping mask. Alright, so you can see it where the shape that is in now. Now let's say I want more. Basically it's obvious now I want more. I can be able to select multiple images at the same time like this and drag them to my canvas. Here I actually need to select these images, all that I've brought in here, and then move them aside just to be tidy. If I select this shape now, you can see it gets highlighted on the layer panel. That means if I want this shape to enter into that rectangle 3, if I want the image to enter into the rectangle 3, I have to drag it to be directly on top of the rectangle 3. I'll take this down and drag it down like this and make sure I meet up to the rectangle 3 that way. We are no longer seeing it now because we are the back. We just move the image back. Right click again and say create a clipping mask. And once you do that, you can only see it within the area that rectangle is found, that the shape is found there, the rectangle you judge. Now I'm going to take this one to this image, and okay, since I want it to be here, I'm going to look for rectangle 3 copy. So I'm going to take it on top there and take this image to be directly on top of the rectangle 3 copy. I'll right click and say create a clipping mask. I'm going to take this one as well. I want it to enter into this particular one. I have rectangle 3, copy 3. So I'll drag the image to rectangle 3. I'll right click and say create a clipping mask. Then the last one here, I have rectangle 3, copy 2. Then I'll drag it to be directly on top of the rectangle 3, copy 2. I'll create a clipping mask and I have to scale the image down now in order to be within the boundary that maybe these images now, the extra ones, they are no longer relevant. I will delete. I want these images now to enter into this place. There's a trick now. I'm going to select everything except the main shape that I want to preserve. The way I can hold Control and start selecting one by one, or I'll select the first one, hold shift and select the last one. I want to make these people a smart object. It's more like combining all of these objects and making them one, editable one. I'll right click now and say create a smart object. All this layer has been compressed to one layer. Since they are now one layer, I will now clip this one layer to this main shape. So I will right click and say create a clipping mask. You can see now what I have here. That is exactly what we are going to do on the magazine. We have this shape here now, so we want to fill it up with different images. I'm going to hold Alt key and click on the eye of that particular shape we want to fill with images, so that I can isolate it and have enough room to basically see what I'm doing, not to have like other distracting elements there. And if I want to bring it back, I'll hold Alt key and click on the eye again to bring it. What I need to do now, I can decide to take the image like this. I can start take the image like this, accept, and say create a clipping mask. Right click and create a clipping mask. But the problem about it is that it is not going to be uniform. One shape might be larger than the other, or one shape might be rectangular, or one photo might be portrait, and other may be landscape, and other may be square, and it will not create something that is not nice. And that is why we need to use shapes to confine their boundary, so they will basically look symmetrical and look nice. So I'm going to select my shape tool and drag something like this. I'll change the color so I'll interfere with my design there. Then I'm going to hold Control key, maybe to have something like this. This is fine. So let me undo that. When you hold Control key and click on this little centered point there, you can be able to, I think it's called squeeze. So you can be able to squeeze it. Now, I want to reduce the opacity of this. I will reduce the opacity by this level. So I just want to be seeing what the things that are behind. The idea here is that I want to take this shape now and arrange it in a way that they will fill up this particular image folder, something like this. I'm going to duplicate again and make something like this. Select both of them there and duplicate, and I will duplicate again. I just want to cover up this area. I can just put Control key, select this one and scale them up like this. I'm holding shift to scale them on one particular side, because if you are not holding shift, if you scale, all parts will be scaled at the same time. So hold shift while scaling. What I need to do now is to start bringing my image to fill it up. So I'll do that very fast now. I will do the first one, second one, or maybe probably the third one, then you can be able to finish other ones. So if I select this, I drag this image now, scale it down. Now I want you to enter into this shape. So that means it's going to be rectangle 1. I have to drag the layer of the photo to be directly on top of rectangle 1 and take this rectangle 1 to where it will be. I will right click on the image and create a clipping mask, and basically we have it here. Why our image now is not that vivid enough now? It's because we reduce the opacity of the shape that we clip it in. So I don't want to bore you with you having to stick around and getting it done this way. So I'm going to fast forward. See you once I'm done. If you are done placing the element, I want you to also remember that when we started, we reduced the opacity of the shapes in order to see through, just to know how we are placing them on top of the image folder. So like if you select one shape, now you can see the opacity is still 89% there. What you can do is to select the first one, hold shift and select the last one there. You're going to just type 100 here, make everything 100. We want to convert all of these things that we clip in, both the shape and the image, to one layer, so that we can now clip one layer into the image folder. So I'll hold shift now, and I've selected the first one, hold shift and select the last one. I'm going to right click and say create a smart object. Now we now have one layer that we can be able to move around like this without having any problem. We want to make the layer to enter into the image folder. We right click on the layer and say create a clipping mask, and here we go. You can see our image now is now in one area. So I think that is basically it. Then the next thing that we are going to do now, turn on the other layers. Now this one, remember we reduced the opacity when we are creating that image folder. So we have to increase it back, and we are back to base, back to our design now. If you look at this place now, it's actually an empty background, so we need to fill that area with shapes. What you can do is to select, just basically add any shape. I'll use an ellipse for now. I will add a shape here. I actually want this shape to be white, so I'm going to change the color to white. I will take it down, all on that one, just to be on top of the background layer there. Okay, but there's a problem now. If you look at this shape, okay, let me take it back to the beginning again. If you look at this shape now, you can see it's extending. Where we just need it is here. Any other thing apart from this area is not needed again. So we have to mask any other side that we do not need out now. So for me to do that now, I'm going to hold Control key and click on the thumbnail of this one. I want, okay, since this one now is the boundary showing where I want to leave, then I'm going to hold Control key and click on that thumbnail, on each thumbnail, so that it will get that area selected. Like if you watch now, you can see, look at what I'm trying to achieve. The area that I want to cut out now is not selected. Then I'm going to select the ellipse like that and add it a mask. So if I should turn on this one now, I now have the ellipse. And once you see the mask, you can see the area that is the white side is displayed, the portion of this particular object that is showing. Then the black side is the area that has been hidden. I'm going to add more like a rectangle. Since the shape is close to a rectangle, have something like this. So I will double click on this thumbnail and make it a perfect white. So I will send it to the back. I will click to send to the back here, and we are getting our design has a little bit of depth, and that depth is basically a drop shadow. Remember the shape we added here? Select on it and go to this effects badge here, click on drop shadow. I will increase the opacity of the drop shadow, then decrease the size, okay, and increase the distance a little bit like this. So I'm going to select the gray outline there, and since I've added a drop shadow to this, I can copy these settings and apply to it. I'll right click on the shape that I've added a drop shadow. I'll say copy layer style, then I'm going to paste it on this one, on the one that I have. So I have to select the one that I want to paste it on and click on paste layer style, and here we go. If there's anything that I need to go and refine, like I think I need to actually refine this area here a little bit, something like this should be fine. I need to actually add it, the same drop shadow, to my image folder, because it seems like it's entering into the shape now. For me to achieve what I want to do, let me rename this image folder. For me to achieve that, remember I have something clicked into it. I will press on Ctrl J to duplicate it. So this one that is under, so nothing has been clicked on it now. So I'm going to right click and say convert to smart object. I just want to make it one layer that doesn't have any problem. I will right click and say paste layer style. I can go and start adjusting the layer style. Duplicate, make sure it's under, right click on it and say convert to smart object. I'm going to right click again and say paste layer style, and there we go. So I'm playing with this. I need the shadow to come here. Then the next thing that we can do is to add texture on this particular layer, because it's not feeling right now. It's not looking like a material. From the design you saw, it has a texture, it has like a material that you can be able to feel and touch. Select the particular one we want to add the texture, which is the top one here. Go to my adjustment layer and click on pattern like this. You can click on this area to select the patterns that you want. The particular pattern that I want to use is not here at this moment, so I have to go and bring it. So watch, I just click on cancel to take that one out. So there are actually some cool pattern that Photoshop comes with that we can be able to use. To go to Windows, and I'll look for a panel called pattern. Then on the patterns, I'll click on this menu here. Let me drag it out. I'll click on this menu, and you see an option that says legacy patterns and more. click on it like that. And if you expand this layer, you begin to see something like 219 patterns and so on and so forth, and legacy patterns and more. You go to the adjustment layer, click on patterns, click on this area. You can see the adjustment, the legacy patterns and more is now out. The legacy pattern and more, we are looking for pattern that say grayscale, okay, something like this. I love this one. Yeah, pattern is very tiny. I can scale it up. Click on this one, I can scale it up like this, maybe something like this. Wow, this is super cool. So you get different effects with different patterns. I'm going to leave it at 100. If you do not like the rotation, you can use this angle. I will click OK. You can see everything is covering my entire design. It's already at the top. I just want it to be on this particular shape, not any other one. What I will do is to select it, right click, and create a clipping mask. And now we have our patterns on that particular shape. This is not the color we want. We can reduce the opacity of the pattern and start getting something like this. And we can also change the blend mode. Let's increase the opacity, play with the blend mode. Soft light is the go-to, and reduce the opacity just to blend in more. If for any reason you would want to increase the pattern again, just double click, or even change the pattern as well. Double click on the thumbnail of the pattern adjustment layer. Panel comes up again. I can decide to scale it up again. The next thing is actually to write. The font I use is actually, it's called Monstrance. I will click once here and write outstanding. Control A. I select everything. Come here and look for Monstrance. You can just type it there, M-O-N-C. So I'm using light. I'll change the color to black. I'll scale it down like this. I'm going to duplicate, Ctrl A, and scale it up. I will go to the family and choose black, change the color. I'm also making use of the alignment that I have here, so nothing should go out of the alignment. So since I want to make this on all caps, I'll come here and click on this man that look like a book. Click on all caps. I'll select type 2. Just click and drag like this to have like a placeholder text. I'm going to reduce the size. I'll change it to something like regular to align it this way. Make sure the color is black because I'm working with black here. This is the design altogether. You can finish up the write-up, write whatever that suits you. You can as well add logo and write whatever that you think, and you can use it anywhere. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and possibly share. Also leave a comment down below anywhere that you did not follow. Reach out to me by commenting, and I will try to answer you as much as I can. You can try to put a smile on someone's face by subscribing. You can see we are just starting out. Bye.